My being has made its home to many contradictions. It holds its scale tightly grounded and cemented, needing its natural nature to balance between any two opposing sides.
Serge says, as beautifully as a French artist can, you have to live your loves in the moment, because otherwise they're doomed. You have to live every moment dangerously. This is definitely not the first time that somebody has said something like this, but the way that he surmised love and life and curiosity and
that to life.
And the next thing you'll see, I hope to see in Cambodia in the next 5 years, is a developer team. Since a lot of things have been going digital, a lot of your design work needs to be translated to code so that it can live on the web or on Android or iOS. So we have a dedicated software development team. And so we have to think about that, in the previous year. But if you don't understand some of these concepts, that's totally fine. They're really new concepts that you're going to be seeing as Cambodia becomes the next financial hub of Southeast Asia. When there's more large-scale design projects coming in, these are some of the principles or some of the processes that you have to understand before you can work on these particular things.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at a coffee shop and I didn't have much to do, so I write. Honestly, I don't know what it is that I wrote. So this is like a bunch of pages that I wrote and draw too, apparently. And I wanna basically read it. Gonna do like a mic thing so you'll hear it better. So that's how we do it. Okay. Today I wanna say it's been very eventful to me. I really enjoy today. It was slowness, it was on my own term, and I genuinely need to do more of these. Go to a cafe and just sit and write and observe. Is it good? I don't know. Yeah, I really I find the importance of sitting and just not touch your phone as much, be very organic in the things that I do. So whether that would be having pens and paper and just write or draw. Really, slowness, which is actually, this is what I wrote about, slowness. There's a bunch of paper. I really don't know if any of it makes sense, but I was really inspired because I've been watching a lot of videos where the speaker would speak about the, I want to say, niches thing. It's something that happens every day that goes unnoticed, but it's these topic that they sort of shine a spotlight on and really dissect it in such an artistic way, in a way that I genuinely just love to just listen. And the creator is called Heaven Sent Honey. So if any one of you know her, she's the best. She's great. I've been watching her and her video. She talks a lot about like sensuality, slowing down, and beauty. She's has a lot of video about like beauty and like the definition of beauty and what define beauty and how we need beauty in our life and all of those things. She showed up in my algorithm page. I was scrolling and I saw her video and I clicked on it. I think it was the video about the muse, like the muse behavior. That's a really interesting video. I got inspired to just talk about niche things and actually start recording them. I think I've been sort of talk to myself about the randomness thing and having like a full course debate with myself in my head. Everyone does that, it's normal. Except this time I like actually record it. It's really fun. It's also very scattered to sort of document my thought process. I try really hard to just like, if I went off topic, especially in writings, I try to like bring it back to the main point and like mentioning like, okay, here's the main point, and try to revert back to it. I think a guideline is very much needed in these very, I want to say, spread out conscious thought. So this morning I basically went to a cafe and just sit and enjoy my own company and write and whatever that came to mind. The coffee place was also really nice too, which helps a lot, and it was really genuinely a fun time. I had fun with myself, and I realized how important I need to be doing that. Like I've done it, but it, you know, it's not out in other space beside my house. So yeah, it's important. And also you really don't know, being out in public, you can like, you know, talk to random people and have the most fun conversations. In a way, I sort of, every time I do go out, I really inside I wish for the spontaneity of random conversation with strangers. I think it's just part of the human experience, and I genuinely do wanna experience more of that spontaneity in conversation about any random topic that I might have an opinion on or thought of before. Also, that's just how you build connections, and I really am leaning towards that a lot these days. In this writing that I did, it talks a lot about slowing down, slowness in all aspects of life. I have a tendency to just be fast in a lot of things, which sure, it can be an advantage to certain degree in certain stuff, but it's definitely feel like I'm speeding against something invisible, and I don't think that's the most way of enjoying the human experience or just life. So I've learned to I'm learning still to just slow down. I tend to really walk really fast. It's something that came out of just the need to like go from point A to point B and never really like savoring, enjoying the moment, the walk from point A to point B. It felt like a task rather than something to just absorb in and enjoy. So I've been trying to like learn to just walk more slowly, but in a way that, you don't want to go too far off and just walk really slow or really fast. I think in everything, you need to have like a really nice middle ground between the two, which is also something I talk about in the writing, which I will get to soon. So a part of it all, also with talking, I found myself wanting to get my point across really fast, so I ended up skipping through most details and sort of give the head, middle, and end, which again, it can be useful in certain situation, but I don't want that to become a repeated behavior, something that turned to just be a reflex within me. Like, I don't want that. If I continue to do so, I think I would really lose out on the art of storytelling and really, in a way, become a really bad storyteller. I really don't want to be that. I really want to hone in on my storytelling skill, which is a skill, and I don't think I don't think I'm good at it, but I'm trying to get good at that because it's really important in knowing how to tell stories. And I think storytellings aren't just novels or just whatever. It's literally in everything that we do. So I really want to get good at it, and by getting good at storytelling, I really need to slow down. And also, with talking really fast, people can view you as someone who's nervous and not confident in the word that they speak. So that is also one of the reasons why I'm trying to like really let myself breathe between the word that I'm saying and not use too much filler word. For example, which I'm still working on it really attentively, is filler word like or sounds like it's those things. Yeah, it's all just becoming conscious of what you want to change and not rushing the change immediately. I think just becoming conscious of it and slowly move towards the direction of that, of the better side of it. Okay. Oh my god. Stop it. I also, in the afternoon, I went to I don't know how you would call it though, like, is it a conference? It's basically talks of graphic design in Cambodian, and I find these types of event really fun in a way. It's definitely really interesting to hear people talk about subjects that I'm into. And also, it's also just there's many factor in such event. It's an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the community. After these type of event, you feel inspired in some way. I guess if we have to like conclude the point, it would just be I really am starting to like social stuff, but like on my own term. I don't want to just fake myself and the way that I talk and whatnot. I'm just being very, I want to say reserved, but also in a way open. So that again, that's like the line that we have to toe between the two. But yeah, that's something that I've trying to instill. Slowness, slowing down, be more observant than I've been, expanding on thoughts that comes across in my head, and not just let it flutter. And I'm not saying like, take every single thought that comes across your mind and consider it. You have to really like distinguish like what's important, what's something that you want to expand more on. For example, last night I was thinking a lot about human and their contradiction, and so I basically sat down and record myself talking about it. So that was something, and that inspired in a way this really writing about slowness. So it's very important that I do things with a controlled pace, but also intention, and really let myself submerge into the presentness of life, I guess. I will read you the writing that I did. It's very all over the place, and hopefully when I'm done reading this and look back at it, maybe it will make more sense. We shall see. I don't have a title for it yet, but basically the main core idea for it is, in my perspective, how I compare slowness and quickness to coldness and warmth, and how like it works. We'll get into it. The innate conscious slowness is still a work in progress. I dip my toe too slow, too fast. The pain spike of cold are still felt. I'm more than my thought, and what if I'm okay with being my thought? There's no organic armor. They are all man-made. Make the pain less easily accessible. These days, the winds are having a field day, or maybe because it's January, or maybe because it's our ever-ignorant bliss of climate change. Slowness are still being learned within my bone. The stretchable, childlike voice comes out when something are detested as danger, and the deal of consequences she haven't learned nor know about of its existence. Anything freezing or cold thrusts your body into a recoil state to react. Quick, 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 distant from the trigger. Quick, 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 remove the pain. I see coldness as quick action, the inherent doom of avoidance to the trigger. The quick, you'll be safe once you've distanced yourself from it, but the pain of the cold still lingers on the skin. You can't distance yourself away from that. You can soothe it. Soothing takes time and stillness, slowness, patience, intention, warmth. That is what difference between the two. Is there a side one must choose? It's certainly not a case where you choose one and abandon the other. I don't think many things is the inherent choosing and abandoning. You need both, and that's balance. But this is different, or at least at a very specific aspect of it. The mastery lies between the skill and the natural flowness to alter between the two sets of things. And in this case, it's quickness and slowness. In comparison, to illustrate a metaphor, it would be cold and warm. But then there are vessel layers and layers beyond that. Questions of like why I view / compare cold to quickness and warm to slowness. One can argue it's the other way around. And if so, why? Maybe reasons are structured in things we see every day that subconsciously form a bias mold of reason that we deem as quote-unquote making sense. And maybe many of these reasons can be simply put to rest by saying, well, it's science. Though I'm not particularly well-versed in science, I still obviously find it very fascinating. And there are so many things I have zero knowledge about of its existence to comprehend anything or to point my finger up and say, well, actually, many things are evidential. Evidence to reason exists, even the invisible one. All contradiction can be made into one like blood vessel supplying to live. Science and spirituality can hold each other's hand without having to flinch on its own contradictory. I can also view quickness and cold as one, with the reasons of, well, it's science, and because it feels and shown as so, both of which is still reasonable in its own reason. It's a sad world if you let your lens shine only in black and white. There's more to the division. The real treat is what lies between the crevice of the two. I'm still trying to learn how to break the familiarity. Familiarity can make you mistaken it for identity. Again, there's nothing wrong with being familiar to something or someone, but your sole identity shouldn't take its primary source from it. It's an easy answer. Maybe even one you don't even have any control over. I prefer the cold weather over warm, but maybe my preferences are an inductive solely because I live in a tropical country, and warm is all I've ever known, which create the bounds of need to search for the opposite. So maybe familiarity doesn't apply here. Maybe familiarity only applied to internal things rather than the physical things. I can say I want out of my country to live abroad, but there's nothing more to love to eat than my grandma's food, which they don't have abroad. And maybe once I'm abroad in the country that is cold, I will eventually detest it and need the familiarity of warmth of my own country, the tropical natures and season of it all. I'm basically describing homesickness. I want to believe myself as a warm person. I know my core is, but I've also detected my natural stance of being cold and distant. All of these two sides exist so lively and cohabit my being like a home so naturally. Then there's slowness and quickness. Now, this is a bit different. Growing up, I've prided myself in being quick and fast. Very what? I don't know what I wrote. I can't read my own writing. What? Innately, it was praise on my quickness and getting, well, shit done. At a young age, learning how to walk and rather just simply walk, I would run. And how that would be considered as somewhat rebellious in my nature. It was also encouraged on the down low. It was wrapped with the energy of encouragement, though no one was fully saying it out loud. Thus, in the subconscious nature of my mind, I believe and want to keep it up. The charade, if you want to call it that, quickness is somehow instilled as being smart. And again, that was something to be praised about. In the mind, keeping this charade up equal to getting more praise, equal to being loved. But that's a whole topic on its own. Then, eventually, approaching my current early 20s, I found more of a home in my femininity, my sensuality, to slow down. Slowness, it's still a learning thing. My being has made its home to many contradictions. And opposite, it holds its scale tightly grounded and cemented, needing its natural nature to balance between any two opposing sides and let it coexist with no complaint. Just a lot of room for open-minded conversation and curiosity that sits at the tip of my tongue to ask the question, why, as a reflex. All of my past me still exists in me. It's not some data that you can override. It takes a certain trigger to really bring it up, but I also don't believe that this made me unhealed or that the improvement I've made aren't actually improved. I just get better at recognizing it. I have more tools and rooms to understand it. It's not something that is dressed in shame like when it used to show up in the past. To have a better relationship with the knowledge and understanding, to balance between slowness and quickness is very important to me. There's no mastery in it, and I'm not sure if you can truly come to a point in time and master these things. Then again, who determine mastery in any craft? How do we begin to calculate it all? Who said that, and why do we agree? And yeah, that's basically the writing. There we have it. The writing. I'm not entirely sure if the point I had in my head was getting across in this. I have to go back and really reread it. Just take this, just listen to it, just don't think too much about it. It's something that I wrote because I was bored and my hands were free and I had pen and paper and it was just thoughts and writing, and there's no structure to it. I don't know, it's fun. I find it to be quite fun and interesting, and maybe this will help inspire something in the future. That's all I have for today. And yeah, goodbye. Thanks for watching, listening, whatever that you do. Thanks for watching, I guess. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on it. It's really interesting to read others people's thoughts. Bye.